Now, this may have been the craziest offseason that we've ever seen in the NBA. And this is just the cherry on top, no lie. Alright, so you probably already know what it is. Kyrie Irving for Isaiah Thomas, Jae Crowder, Ante Zizic, however the heck you say that name, and the 2018 Nets pick. Now, the first thing that you would think, or at least I would think, you may not think that, I mean, that's just how the NBA works, we already know that, is that the Cavs fleeced the Fleecers. When the Celtics robbed the Nets a few years ago, it obviously turned out very bad for Brooklyn. But the Celtics didn't have to deal with that. I mean, they might have actually even benefited from the trade. Now, there are certain anomalies in the NBA. Players that produce good numbers, but their trade value doesn't equate to what the numbers say. Players like DeMar DeRozan, CJ McCollum, and Carmelo Anthony come to mind. And the king of this group of select few players is Mr. Fourth Quarter himself, Isaiah Thomas. Why? It's two things that we all should know as NBA fans. They both correlate to each other. We have his height, which corresponds to his bad defense. Now, if Isaiah Thomas were 3 inches taller, just 3, the Cavs would have won this trade without a doubt in my mind. But that's not the case. Now, I know that he's had a growth spurt apparently, but that's nothing really to be hyped about. When you're under 6 foot, an inch or 2 really doesn't honestly matter. So a 5'9", 5'10", it doesn't really matter. Let's just gonna say 5'9". Now, a 5'9" point guard isn't going to help the Cavs defensively, which is something they desperately needed since they were a bottom 10 defense last year. Somehow, they actually managed to downgrade from Kyrie Irving, one of the worst defensive players in the NBA, to Isaiah Thomas, who's even a worse defender. And as a team that needs to be able to compete with the Warriors for LeBron to stay in the land, acquiring a point guard who can't handle Curry or Clay isn't the best idea for the Cavaliers. So let's say that after this upcoming season, Isaiah Thomas decides that he actually likes it in Cleveland and he wants to resign. Well, then there's a little bit of a problem there. Isaiah Thomas was an MVP candidate this year, and to be offering an MVP candidate under $20 million is not the ideal choice for pretty much anyone. And so in order to re-sign him, they're going to at least have to pay him $20 million. The Cavs already have a huge payroll, and if LeBron decides to re-sign, then that's $50 million, almost half your cap for literally 2 players. I really don't think that Dan Gilbert's pocket will really appreciate that, especially after the 2015 fiasco. Alright, now I can't hate here. He's a stud defensively, and he's a 40% three-point shooter. What more could you ask? And he's on a great contract for today's NBA. $7 million a year. For a guy like that, he needs to be paid at least $15 million. That was very good for them. Now, of course, Ante Zizic, nothing really to say, or however the heck you say that. Nothing really to say here. Contract filler, that's all. Now, here is where people actually say that the Cavs fleeced, murdered the Celtics in the trade. But don't forget that the Celtics still have the Lakers/Sixers pick, whatever it is, and that still may be in the lottery. Now, granted, that may be in 2019, but let's say that the Lakers do bad and land somewhere like from 2 to 5. If they do, then the Celtics still get that pick. However, then if that's not true, then it's the 2019 Sixers pick. It's just complicated. Just bet on it being a 2019 pick, and they also have the 2019 Clippers pick. And even if you don't agree with me, they are a stacked team. So who are they going to add? Of course, these guys are going to help them, but that doesn't fit the timetable of their development. I mean, sure, Marvin Bagley would help, but by the time he gets to be a really good player, Kyrie's going to be like, I don't know, he's going to be in his 30s, and then we're going to have Hayward being also in like 33 and all of that. That's not good. What the Celtics were doing is a little complicated, and I don't think it's really been done before, where they had 2 timetables on the same team. They would have their win now group, which would be, you know, IT, Al Horford, Avery Bradley, all that. Then they would have their future timetable that consisted of the Nets picks and Jaylen Brown. So it really just doesn't fit the timetable. While you may not agree that's the best option, I don't agree it's the best option either, but honestly I would have rather 1 timetable than 2. And the timetable that they're in right now is still pretty good if I do say so myself. And just to mess that up with another rookie that they would have to develop and all that could be a little bit of a risk. Here, let me just sum up the trade like this. The Celtics traded for a 25-point scorer who hasn't hit his prime yet and has been to the finals 3 times. And what did they trade that for? A 1-year rental, their 3rd or 4th option at small forward, a contract filler, and someone who may not even be as good as Kyrie anyway. And they still got those 2 other picks. So if things don't work out, the Celtics still have Tatum, Brown, and those 2 picks that they can work with. When I put it like that way, it really doesn't seem like that bad a trade. While I know that Isaiah Thomas is a great player and all, there hasn't been an instance in NBA history where a 5'9" point guard has led their team to the NBA Finals.
Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good!
Kyrie, on the other hand, has proven himself in the finals and is sort of what the Celtics needed if they wanted to make it there. I mean, which would you rather have? A guy who's been there 3 times with roughly the same skill level, or someone who hasn't been there at all? Now, are they good enough to beat the Cavs? The answer used to be a definite no, where everyone's like, ha ha ha, the Celtics are always gonna lose to the Cavs, that's hilarious. But now the rhetoric has changed. Now if you say who's gonna win in a series, Cavs or Celtics, there's a little bit more hesitation there than there once was. I don't know what else Danny Ainge has up his sleeve, but if he can get a few more pieces, you never know, they might be able to contend. And that is a step in the right direction. Oh, and also the Cavs, they did take a step in the right direction, but it's probably a different direction than you may think. Stay tuned.
I am the guy that is hoops. Again and again it's been proven. Pass me the rock and I'm shooting. Give me the rock, we not losing. I know it's room for improvement.